Let's say you've been playing D&D 5e for a while now, and let's say that you've been playing a magic user in particular. Maybe it's a wizard, a warlock, or any of the other ones. And you've been playing long enough that you're very familiar with the spell list. You're familiar with what it does, and you're really looking for a way to freshen things up. You want some new magical effects, you want some new ways to interact with your environment, and you want magic to feel more magical, which can often become less and less the case the more familiar you get with the spell list. Well, today on Questing Beast, what I'm going to be doing is looking back over the course of the last couple years that I've been reviewing RPGs, and we're going to look at some of my favorite spell books. I have 5 in particular that we're going to be looking at. And these stand out to me both in terms of the creativity that the spells offer and how well written they are and how magical they feel in particular. These spells, if adapted to 5th edition D&D, the adaptation wouldn't be that difficult, I don't think, since they're mostly designed for D&D-like systems. But if you adapted them, they're going to add a lot more flavor and magic to your magic, where it's going to feel like your spells are genuinely surprising and weird, terrifying, and soak you in that flavor of D&D that you imagine, but is often hard to capture once you've been playing the game for long enough. Spell casting and magic in general is a great way to freshen up your game and make things a lot more strange once again. So, without further ado, let's look at number 1. First off, we have Wonder and Wickedness. This is a great little book, and it's quite famous within the old school Renaissance for the way that it treats spells. What it does is it takes the whole concept of spells and spell slots and makes them all levelless, which means that every spell can be used at level 1 all the way up as high as you want. And the way that it does this is it makes them scale. So the more powerful that you are, the more powerful the spell becomes. This means that there are no spells that are useless at high levels. Everything is potentially useful. You don't throw things away when you become more powerful, and there aren't spells that are locked away until you're a very high level. We see that a little bit in 5th edition D&D, and the problem is that unless you're playing a very long game, all the way up to level 20, there's going to be a lot of spells that you just simply never have access to. So Wonder and Wickedness does a great job of doing away with that and making things a lot more interesting. It also offers a variety of new spell schools, including Diabolism, Elementalism, Necromancy, Psychomancy, Spiritualism, Translocation, and Vivimancy. Each of those gives you 8 new spells, which are often made very concrete, which is something that I really like about spells. Where it's not just saying, you cast the spell and here's the effect. It tells you how this affects the world and what you need to do to actually cast the spell and have it affect the world. It really anchors you into the fiction in a way that I just find delightful. The second book I want to mention is this book, which is Marvels and Malazans. It's a short little supplement to Wonder and Wickedness, and it adds a variety of new spell schools, especially ones that are a lot stranger than the more classic ones from Wonder and Wickedness. This one has Apotropeism, which is basically a defensive school of magic, along with Arachnomorphism, the ability to take on spider qualities, Physiurgy, the Cunning Craft being more like traditional hedge magic, and Rope Tricks, which is my favorite. A whole variety of 8 new spells that just focus on tricks involving ropes and string and the ways that you can use those creatively in all sorts of situations within D&D. A lot of really great stuff in there. Number 3 is Theorems and Thaumaturgy. Now, this book is a little bit more classical than the previous 2 books in the sense that the spells are ranked by level, right? Levels 1 and going up from there. But what makes it a little bit different is that it has 160 new spells, a huge variety for the Elementalist, the Necromancer, or the Vivimancer. And the Vivimancer in particular is something I really like about this book. It allows you to indulge in cloning, vat growth, and biosorcery. So if you want to really take on that bio-horror, or that body horror aspect of dealing with magic, this book gives you options. Lots of options. And you can really start grossing out your friends with it. Do the wizard schools in those previous books seem too normal for you? Check out the Cathodic Codex. This book has schools including things like fire dervishes, gatekeepers, chimerists, and stargazers, among others. This book is very strange in a really great way. If you want your magic to feel really weird, this is a good place to start. It has a whole school of wizards. So it's like Harry Potter, but much more dangerous and more D&D. Inside a wizard school beneath a burning valley. So this book digs into things like what weird rituals do wizard schools get up to? What might your master be like? Do I want to start collecting all sorts of weird chemicals and start making my own potions? It has rules for that. But the spells especially are delightful because they feel like they're from a different culture. And just by learning the spells and casting them, you feel like you are learning more about the setting, which is something that is hard to pull off. And number 5, we got this giant tome, which you may have heard of before, Dungeon Crawl Classics. So this thing is a massive book. However, the rules are quite simple, and almost the entirety of the page count is spells. This book takes a different approach to spells. It takes a roll to cast approach, meaning that the more powerful that you are, the higher your rolls are going to be, because generally you add your caster level to your rolls, and that's going to make the effect of the spell more and more powerful. So this book is ideal if you like your spells to be more random. If you want their actual effects to be somewhat unpredictable. This makes magic feel more wild. It feels like it's not something entirely under your control. You're harnessing the forces of these spells, sort of, but they can get out of hand and do things that you don't entirely intend. This allows for your actual casting to be more unpredictable and to change the direction that the story is going in a way that's a little bit beyond your control. And if you enjoy that sort of thing and you enjoy that classic sword and sorcery feel where magic is dangerous, Dungeon Crawl Classics is the way for you to go. All right, so that was a brief overview of some of my favorite spell books that I've put out over the last couple years or so. If you really enjoyed them, remember to subscribe to my channel. I have much more detailed reviews of each of those books that you can check out if you want to know more about them and go more into depth. I also have links where you can get the PDFs of all of those if you want to get them for yourself. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you guys later.